Okay, let's take a look at some more of the channels that we have available to us here in Cinema 4D. So I've got a simple scene set up with a interactive render region going on. And I'm going to double click my material to get it in the material editor, put my material on my sphere. Then we can just take a look at some of these different channels that we have here in Cinema 4D. The diffusion channel is a great channel to use. It works by brightening and darkening the color channel. So this is a good one to use if you have a texture you want to put on your object to make it look aged. The luminance channel is the channel that you want to use for something that needs to emit light, say the front of a television or an iPad or something that is emitting light from behind it. So that would be your luminance channel. If we turn that on, you can see how that changes the sphere. Let's turn that off, turn our color back on. Our transparency, this does exactly what it says. We turn the transparency on. You can see that our sphere goes semi-transparent, and you can control the amount of transparency by the brightness. If you wanted to get something that looked like glass, you could type in 1.33 here for the angle of refraction, and then take our brightness back up. And you're getting more of a glass look here. And for this particular scene right here, this would be a good time to use something like the sky object and the HDRI that we talked about in an earlier movie in order to get the reflections and specular highlights and things happening in the scene. But we don't have that set up right now, so we'll just move on. Reflection. We can turn the reflection on. We can get something that looks like an absolute glass ball, or we can turn that down with the brightness so that we get something that is semi-reflective. Everything, all materials have a certain amount of reflectivity to them. So this is always a good one to use, even in small amounts. Turn that off. So our alpha channel, that will define localized texture invisibility. So wherever you're going to have alpha in your texture. The specular, that's obviously the specular highlight. You can see that when I turn that on and off. And you can have different specular highlights. You can change the mode, metal, colored. Go back to plastic, and we can change these specular highlights by adjusting these parameters here. Now, in addition to the materials that we have here, we also have our content browser. So if you come over here and click on your content browser, and you go to your presets, depending on what version of Cinema 4D you have, you will be able to go in here and choose some of the presets that are available. So if I go to Visualize and Materials, I've got all of these materials that are already made for me. So I can come in here, grab one of my glass materials, and you've got just tons of glass here. Let's just take a simple glass. You just double click it. It comes up down here. You can drag it onto your object. I'm going to take these two tags off of my sphere. Just hit delete on the keyboard. And then I'm going to put the glass on there. That's what my glass looks like. Let's go back to the content browser. You could go up and choose a metal. Let's look at some metals. Metal with steel dots. Put that on the sphere. Let's also come up here to the project settings and turn off linear workflow. Gives us a better representation. Back to the content browser. Let's take a look at metal titanium. See how that looks. Sort of has a brushed metal look. Go back up a level. Wood. Got our different woods. Let's take a look at cork. Back to the object. And drop this on top of the other texture. There we go. Interesting look. So really the best thing to do is just get in here and experiment and play around with the different options that you have. It's also a good idea to start with a material that you might get from the content browser. Just double click on that material, and in the material editor you can go in there and see how they actually made this material. So you can learn a lot by just going through and checking out the parameters. So experiment, have fun, and let's move on.